I'm Chal-ec, and this is ICU Academy. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here to share with you about my 8-day self-imposed, self-gifted retreat. And this was one of the most paramount things I could have done for my journey. It was such a special time, and it was a sacred space, and I got to connect to my own inner divinity. I got to connect to my own trust and connect to God and connect to my creative flow and to myself. And it was beautiful and empowering, and I recommend this for anyone who is looking to do the same or feel the same. What is a self-imposed retreat? Well, basically it's sacred time where I spent 8 days, but you could do 5 or 4. I recommend a week, but whatever suits your schedule, right? And you spend this time and you devote it to creative flow, right? This isn't about being productive, although you will be productive. And this isn't about forcing some outcomes. And honestly, when I started it, I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to get done. I'm going to, handle X, Y, and Z. And they were all creative things, but I was like, oh, I'll finally get to look at that script, or I'll finally get to do this or do that. I did not do those things. I did other things that were actually quite productive and maybe even more productive for the space that I was in. So in the 8 days, you keep your regularly scheduled programming. So if you have a 9 to 5 and you work, that's totally fine. I did all of my regular day, and then at the end, when I have my own time, that's when the retreat starts. It's basically like you take your phone away, you take the distractions away, you get to have your phone. It's just a metaphor for eliminating the distractions and giving your time to you. So for the next 6 to 8 hours at the end of your day, it's all about you. Now, if you have kids and other things, like, you're welcome to adjust this to fit your schedule. Maybe only do 2 to 3 hours or even 1 hour, right? I mean, 1 to 2 would probably be ideal, but I get it. We all have things going on. So you give yourself these few hours at the end of your day, and you attribute it to being in the flow state, right? You're journaling, you're meditating, you're creating any inspirational urge you have, right? Maybe you have an urge to read that chapter in that book that you've been thinking about. Maybe you have an urge to draw or plan something out. This isn't about completing anything. This isn't about making something happen. You're literally just following the urges within your own body. And you have to delineate and discern whether it's an urge or a thought. Because an egoic thought would essentially undermine your process. And the whole point is to follow your intuition, is to follow your urges and not second guess yourself. This is all about trusting yourself and trusting and deepening the connection to God, to yourself, to your spirit, and trusting that wisdom within. So when you're doing this, so you have your hours set, you're limiting the distractions. So anything that you would watch that would take time away from you. And I have my pen here, so that's what I'm clicking. I have my notes. But anything that would take time away from you, where you would just be like kind of numb or doom scrolling or anything like that, you eliminate it. If you can't eliminate it, you can just cut it down. But I would really encourage you to do your best to eliminate any of these things. So I wasn't doom scrolling. If I got on TikTok, one of the things that I did was, if I saw a repeat ad or commercial, I got off, because it means I was on it enough. But I really wasn't on it that much. I think maybe the one in the first couple days, right? The first couple of days is when I kind of had the urge to kind of look at some stuff or whatever. But I honestly wasn't doing much of that because there was so much to explore. And that's the other thing. You want to stay in an exploratory state. So you're not allowed to second guess yourself. You're not allowed to criticize yourself, right? This is a way to see where you are undermining yourself, where you are saying no when part of you is saying yes. So if you're cooking a delicious meal for yourself, intuitively cooking, just throwing things in the pot, making this lovely veggie stir fry, and you decide to add some cinnamon because your heart is saying, you feel this call for cinnamon. It's not like you're thinking, I want to add cinnamon. That's more of a divine urge. You follow that urge and you allow yourself to just go with it, right? This is the time to just go with it. Go with what's inside, go with what's calling you. And you may find that it was delicious, and maybe you needed the benefits of cinnamon that you wouldn't have given yourself before because cinnamon doesn't make sense in this recipe or whatever, right? So this is just a guided retreat and a guided exercise in your own urges, your divine urges, the thing that God is trying to communicate with you. And oftentimes we don't listen because we're so busy thinking ourselves out of it or looking for the strategy or the logic behind it. So that's one of the key points. A good way to tell if it's a divine urge or just an egoic thought is to kind of notice where it feels in your body. So if it comes up and it feels like it's a head experience and it's almost reasoning with whatever came up. So let's say the cinnamon example, maybe the urge for cinnamon comes up and the thought is, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would I put that? No, like that won't taste good. Like, you're already second guessing yourself and eliminating yourself the opportunity to really grow and explore. Your heart is asking for something specific. So also, just a side note, this is a practice you can do all the time, but in a retreat setting, you really get to offer this to yourself with a structured, sacred amount of time where you can dive in without feeling guilty, really just offering yourself this container, right? That's, again, the masculine energy, offering yourself this container, this sacred space to go within and follow your own flow and just see what comes from it. See what kind of inspiration spouts from it, right? Just for the sake of exploring your own sacred creativity and your own sacred urges, right? So really merging these masculine and feminine energies and allowing yourself to develop and go even deeper. So back to the cinnamon example, that urge you've now cultivated by listening to yourself. So you're deepening your sense of trust and also deepening the connection to your own wisdom, to those urges, so you can follow them with more surety. You can follow them with a little bit more sacred trust. So that's the basic structure. Honestly, anything that feels right goes. So in the sense of really being honest, right? So this is not just, oh, it feels right to eat ice cream. Oh, it feels right to do this. Not thinking about it, right? You're not going with thoughts here. This is all heart call. So if you're feeling it in your heart, so I guess that this is elaborating on where you feel it and whether it's a urge versus a thought. If you're feeling it in your heart, in your belly, or in your uterus even, that might be more of a urge, right? Because it might almost feel like a thought that doesn't make sense. So it's a little bit more confusing. It's almost like, why would I do that? It's inspired and it feels bright and like sunshine and exciting. But if it's immediately met with this, oh, you don't want to do that. Oh, I don't know about, like anything that's like, no, that's something to start to reflect on within yourself about where you're second guessing yourself and whether it's for good or for harm, because sometimes you could be keeping yourself from danger. Like, should I send this text? Maybe not. I don't know about that. That's up to you. But essentially, there are those instances where you might be feeling an urge, but maybe it's not the right time. So hold on to it. But this sacred space is literally only about you and connecting to your own intuition, right? So if you have the urge to stretch, if you had the urge to wash your hair, you follow the flow. You're not thinking strategy, right? So Oh, this is a good example because this actually happened to me. It was a washing your hair example. And I was writing or relaxing or kind of sitting. I had just like meditated or something. And the thought of washing my hair came up and I almost second guessed myself. I did for a second. And I was like, oh, well, I don't really want to do that right now, blah, blah, blah. But then I realized, because I had to like even rationalize myself into following the urge, where I realized if I washed my hair now, I didn't even think about the fact that tomorrow, that next day, I had something to do that required my hair being a certain way. And I had an audition, I think it was. And so I usually go in with my curly hair because that's how I audition. And I realized that if I didn't wash my hair, I wouldn't have my fresh curls for my audition the next day. And so it wasn't until I committed to starting to wash my hair when I was like, okay, I'll wash my hair, that I remembered that I had this thing. And then I checked my email and I remembered I had an audition, and it all had fallen into place because I actually followed the urge. So it was setting me up to be in the more prepared state, in the most prepared state for everything that was coming next for me. And that's what this does. It empowers you to trust yourself and trust the way that God is leading you so that you are your most prepared. We think we have it all. We think we know all the answers, and we do, but it's not the answers that we're always thinking. It's the answers that are inspired, that are God-given, that are, downloaded into us through our higher selves, through our spirit, through our guidance, through wisdom, right? And those things, those sacred urges, are the things that are leading us. And it's trusting our heart. It's trusting that it's all coming and it's all going to come just at the right time. But our problem, right? My problem, let me speak for myself, was always listening all the time, right? You can listen when it's certain things. You can listen when it makes sense. But there are some times where we could be listening more. We could be listening more deeply, and we could really be trusting in a deep, profound sense of surrender, right? And this is what this brought out in me. It catalyzed my ability to trust, my ability to surrender, my ability to love and respect myself and respect my urges from a sacred space. So I pray that this works for you too. I know it will. I'm curious how you guys might use this for yourself. Maybe you don't do 8 days, maybe you do 4, but let me know if you decide to utilize this process for yourself and you go into a sacred retreat. I would love to hear about it in the comments, so let me know. I do have a couple more things I want to share. So I kind of mentioned this already, but the do's and don'ts, right? So say yes to divine impulses, all of them. During this time, there is no time for self-judgment. Point number 2, do not self-judge, right? No self-criticism. It's okay. It will happen. Just notice when you're doing it and respect yourself enough to say thank you, but we're going to follow this urge. Let's just see what happens, right? Get curious. Point number 3, get curious. Stay curious about the process. The unfolding into the unknown is the surrender part, right? This is the part that we're leaning into so that we can actually be open channels for the divine creativity, for all of this beauty to flow through us, for all of this organization and inspired action to flow through us, for the energy to stay strong, right? We fatigue when we think about things, when we're so focused on making it happen our way, when we're going at it with all of our effort and all of our might. But when we soften to the experience and let the path unfold, chef's kiss, we have endless energy and we can run for miles. We can run with the horses, okay? So next point is, I had to check. Oh, right, no to the calendar. So really try to commit to this. If it's not already on your calendar for the time that you've set, if you set 8 days and it's not already on your calendar, you'll have to say no to anything that is trying to come in and take up your sacred time. Anything that was already on my calendar, I had a couple friends' dinners and like a couple meetings and things like that. All of those things I honored because I'm honoring my commitment to myself as well as my commitment to the things that are on my calendar. If it wasn't on there, I had to say no. And I let people know, I let people know that I was doing this so that people wouldn't be alarmed or upset, because I didn't know how active via text and all of that stuff I would be. So I told them, I said, hey, if I'm doing this retreat, it's 8 days, I'm not sure how active I'll be via text. I feel free to reach out, but I just don't know where I'll be, right? And all of my friends were very receptive to it, and they were like, okay, thanks for letting me know, just informing people of what's going on in your life so you don't just disappear, okay? Because yes, you're going to be going to do your work and your gigs and stuff, but your friends are going to be concerned, so share with them. Yeah, and the other thing is, like, hold yourself accountable, This is for you. This is quality time with yourself. This is allowing yourself to deeply connect to your own spiritual goals, to your own creative insight, and really just deepen your relationship with God. So go for it. This is your time. You're setting aside, anywhere from 4 to 8 days to do this. Commit to it. You know what I mean? Hold yourself accountable. Really be honest about what's distracting you and what's not. It really showed me some of my habits, some of the things that when I got a little, let's say, almost bored, not really bored, but when I was like, oh, I'm not sure what to do next, or I didn't have any inspired action, it's like, oh, well, this is where I would either look at TikTok or, watch a show or two, or whatever. And I really allowed myself the time to get closer to myself there and be like, oh, well, why do you want to do that? Like, what are you looking for? Or are you just trying to relax? Are you trying to have fun? Do you just kind of want to turn your brain off? And you may feel like, oh, I just kind of wanted some inspiration from somewhere else. And then you realize you're looking outside of yourself for certain things. So either way, all of those things aside, you can journal alongside of this. So I had a journal that, was keeping track of each day, and I was just sharing how I was feeling, and I was feeling really confident and inspired the first couple of days. Day 5, I was almost bored. I was like, okay. And then I almost got afraid. I was like, I've been so connected and so in flow, and it felt so natural and so beautiful and strong that I was worried that I was going to fall off. I was like, what if I don't follow my urges anymore, or don't have time to, because, other things start to fill in my schedule. But it really also creates a little bit of discipline for yourself, and also a little bit more boundaries, like stronger boundaries, to say yes to things and say no to things, and also carve more time out for yourself. So overall, it's entirely empowering in the way that it encompasses your truth in a new way, and almost gives it the time of day and the respect it deserves to be like, oh no, what I feel is true in my heart, the divine urges I have, the flow I have, is to be honored. And so I hope this was helpful for you and you feel inspired by this, because honestly, it was a life-changing experience, because now I am very aware of my urges, and I've even gotten to the point where I bring it up in conversation if someone's like, oh, you seem like you're this, and it's, or like, it almost can seem scattered to other people, but I'm like, oh no, this is my flow. Like, I kind of go from this thing to the next thing, and I just kind of let myself go through it. But I was doing yoga and breathing and all of that stuff in the meantime. So also noticing when I'm kind of getting spirally and getting a little bit attached to achieving or doing, and getting on a momentum in that way that's almost pulling me to do more than I need to. And you just relax, and it's like, okay, I'll take a breath. Maybe I want a snack. You know what I mean? You might notice that you start doing more because you're actually craving something like food or nourishment in other ways, but you're leaning into activity as a way to feel like you're accomplishing, but it's really because you're fatiguing. You may even need just rest, like just sleeping, So I hope this was inspiring for you and encouraging for you. I hope you try a version of this, if not this one in general. And if you want any more information on it, any more details about the process, or you have any questions, please let me know. I would love to tell you more. This is just all I could think to share, kind of unprompted because no one asked, but I love sharing it with you anyway. And it was so impactful for me, and I'm just offering it as some inspiration for you so you can find some sacred containers for yourself to kind of explore your own flow and divine creativity and inner wisdom and inner divinity. So blessings to you all, and I'm so thankful you stopped in and listened to this video. And please let me know if you have any questions or comments, or if you need more tips and tricks on accomplishing this yourself. And yeah, I will talk to you all soon. Bye.